If you're working on building a strong brand on Instagram, you might have wondered how to make your Instagram feed actually look good. In today's video, I'm going to explain if you need a perfect profile, show you what you should be focusing on, and share some of my tips on how to create an aesthetic Instagram feed. Ready? Let's do this. Hi my lovely people, it's Natalia and welcome back to my channel where I share super actual ideas on content creation for entrepreneurs and creatives. And today we're talking Instagram feeds. I have a really great video for you answering your questions and figuring out whether you need a perfect Instagram feed or not. When I first started working on this, I thought it's going to be quite a straightforward video, but turns out I had a lot to say and address here, so I hope you're going to love it. When it comes to what your Instagram profile looks like, there's always a lot of balancing between making a great first impression and trying to achieve this perfect curated look. When you watch this video, you're going to learn the most important things to focus on with your Instagram feed, whether you should make your feed perfect, what role authenticity plays in all of that, and how to actually make your feed look good. As always, let's get right into it. The most important thing you need to achieve when it comes to your Instagram feed is clarity. And that's honestly one of the biggest feed issues that seems to trip up a lot of creators. What we should always aim for is for the visitors to know exactly what you do, what you offer, and why they should follow you. Now, a part of this comes from having a very well optimized bio that can explain all of these things, but that's still not a good enough reason for them to stay and consume your content. After all, they may be on the lookout for a cool creator talking about houseplants, but if the actual content that they see on the feed doesn't deliver, then they will quickly move on. This is precisely why your feed should be all about clarity. If your profile doesn't instantly show what they can benefit from by following your content, then you're not going to convert those visitors into followers. Let me give you a very basic example here. If you post a lot of reels with covers showing just your face and no text overlay, then someone who visits your profile will have absolutely no idea what your content is about. Just look at what that could look like on the feed. Why would anyone want to check what's up? That also plays into the idea that you have to capture people's attention and make it worthwhile for them to click or tap. If a visitor comes to your profile and looks at your feed, they usually notice the last 12 to 15 posts within the first short scroll. It's good to think about it whenever you post so that every piece of content that lands on your profile is clearly showing what they can expect from you. Even if you post photos on your feed with no text on them whatsoever, you can still aim for clarity. As an example, would you be able to identify what this profile is all about? And now how about this one? I'm not going to assume here for you, but chances are when you looked at this one, you felt a little bit overwhelmed. After all, there's no real pattern, nothing that says clearly what this creator is all about. Now with this one, it's easy to see it's probably a jewelry brand. Even though you have some ambiguous posts here and there, you can still see the rings and necklaces and bracelets and all that good stuff on the profile, which means their feed provides clarity on what the viewers can expect. You can do a little experiment on your own here. Go to the comment section of one of the bigger creators you follow and visit the profiles of a few people commenting there. Apart from bumping into some obvious personal IGs, you may see a few business or creator profiles. Try to determine what their profile is all about without looking at their bio too much. It's an eye-opening experience because I often see profiles without that clarity, and that should tell you how essential this is to your feed. The second important factor here is keeping a consistent brand image. This means sticking to the same brand colors, fonts, and elements so that your profile has a very cohesive feel to it. Not only does it look more put together, but your followers can instantly identify it's you when your post shows up on their feed, even if it's just on a subconscious level. In my social media design mistakes video, I mentioned how using too many fonts or colors can really confuse the viewers and cheapen the design overall. That's definitely not what we're aiming for on our Instagram feed, so be sure you stick to your own brand guidelines, no matter how drawn you may feel to a particular style or font at that moment. This is how you build trust because of that brand recognition factor, and frankly, a consistent brand image goes beyond just the visuals and should really include how you communicate with your followers and what values you consistently convey. But that's neither here nor there and probably a topic for another video. What you definitely don't want is for your followers to see your post on their feed and think, who is this person again? And then go to your profile and remember, oh yeah, that's her. This is where the power of consistent visual identity lies, and I'm sharing some of the tips on how to achieve this later on, so make sure you watch this video till the very end. Does it mean your feed needs to be perfect? In my opinion, absolutely not. If you're aiming for some unattainable standard, then be sure that your content creation for Instagram is going to be a nightmare. When you always try to maintain that perfect Instagram feed, it inevitably leads to a lot more anxiety or simply makes you spend more time on it than you probably should. And trust me, it's that time that's worth putting towards improving your content quality or providing more value to your followers. If you've ever wondered whether you should publish this particular post, but you're worried about ruining the perfect feed, then something is wrong. Whether it's the post you've had ready for a while but doesn't really look as good as it should on the feed, or the post that works brilliantly for what's currently going on in the world, or simply a post that you feel like posting at that very moment, if you're stopping yourself from posting because of some weird rule about having this incredible feed, then please just hit publish. Don't let the obsession over the perfect feed prevent you from showing up authentically and serving your audience. I wouldn't be myself if I didn't mention the puzzle feed here. As someone who's created plenty of Canva tutorials here on YouTube, I get asked all the time, how do I create a puzzle feed in Canva? First, let me say, I'm not going to create a video like that ever. I know they say never, but truly it's so unlikely. I'd much rather become a lifestyle vlogger than work on a video like that. I feel so strongly about puzzle feeds because despite looking really beautiful, they are so hard to upkeep that in my opinion, it's just not worth your time. I'm going to repeat myself here, but you really could be spending that time on creating quality content. I can't count how many times I've seen puzzle feeds that lasted like 2 scrolls before someone gave up posting altogether, or seen beautiful feeds with absolutely no substance in the captions because the pressure is on looking good. And honestly, save yourself some time and focus on what's important. If you're really looking for a feed with a certain feel, you can try different feed styles. I've used the good old checkerboard feed many times before because it's so easy to maintain and gives a really good feeling when someone looks at it. You can even try the trio where you post 3 types of posts consecutively with a focus on a specific style, format, or even color. There's also what I like to call the wave feed, which just flows naturally when you repeat 4 different post types, and I love it when it's driven through unique brand colors like this. Bottom line is, find a style that works for your posting schedule and won't limit you from posting more spontaneously. In recent years, we've seen a slow shift towards more authentic, organic looking social media posts. And listen, I'm here for it. There are enough studies now showing clear evidence that this perfectly curated social media existence is really bad for our mental health. And I'll be the first to say I was a victim of it. I don't know if it's the general media obsession with the perfect looks or the weird standards in portrait photography that I've always loved most as a photographer, but I could never just let a photo be. I had to do something to it, whether it was removing a small crease from a t-shirt, covering up that spot on my face, or even fixing the way my body looked. Even though as a society we do have a long way to go, I feel like in the last few years we've embraced that raw, natural presence on social media. You can see that real people in stories are showing up in messy buns or tracksuits with no makeup on or a bit of a cluttered living room. And that's great. Same goes for our Instagram feeds. There's less pressure to have this carefully curated feed because people start caring more about what you have to say. Now, does this mean we should not care about how our feeds look? No, I still believe it is important that your feed is well designed. We've already talked about clarity and consistency, which play a huge role here, but it's important that we create click-worthy posts that stop the scroll. It's important to capture your viewers' attention and invite them to engage, and aesthetics are an important component in all of this. Coming back to my video about design mistakes, so often I see really good quality captions and interesting information from creators dressed up in bad design. Whether it's an educational carousel that you can barely read because there's not enough contrast between the background and the text, whether it's a post that makes you feel like you're suffocating because there are barely any margins, or it's a mix of bad templates chosen from Canva with no regard for your own brand. If you put posts like that on your feed, non-designers may not know what's wrong specifically, but they will certainly feel that it's not good. You always want to stand out in a good way. So how to make your feed look good? I've mentioned the different feed styles if you want to adopt a specific look. So as a refresher, you could use a checkerboard feed, a trio feed, a wave feed, or the puzzle feed. Joking. Again, please don't do it. Another great way is to come up with your own templates for your social media profile. Whether you decide to design them yourself, reach out to a graphic designer, or buy some of the templates available online, this is a sure way to give your feed a professional, cohesive look. I have a whole video where I show you how you can create your own templates in Canva, so if that's your kind of a thing, I highly recommend you watch it. One thing you should always pay attention to is the sizing. With the multitude of formats on Instagram now, it's easy to get lost and not not post correctly. So for the image post, always use the 4:5 ratio, which is 1080 pixels by 1350 pixels, but keep that classic square in mind when designing your post or choosing a photo. With this portrait ratio, you're making the most of your real estate and grabbing attention easier, but make sure you don't cut off any faces or important elements when on your feed because you'll still have squares on your profile no matter what. Same goes for your reels. These are in the vertical video format, so 1080 by 1920 pixels, but the most important information should be contained within that 4:5 ratio because that's how your followers see them when they scroll through their feed. And of course, whether it's reels or feed videos, always set your own cover and change what it looks like on your feed. It's a huge pet peeve of mine, and I've recently shared a post about it, which I'll leave for you in the description box down below. It's worth a watch because it's a common mistake you may not even be aware of making. Back to our covers, here's where you can actually adjust what the cover looks like on your own profile. Before you post, hit Edit Cover, choose one from the frames or add one from your camera roll, then click Profile Grid. From here, you'll be able to drag your cover so that it looks good on your profile too. If you post photos and edit them, I would try developing a cohesive style of color correction for your own profile. You can use apps like Lightroom or VSCO to give your photos a united look. This way you're creating your own personal style of editing that's making you stand out from the IG crowd. And again, plenty of free and paid presets you can use on any of those photo editing apps. Another tip would be to develop your own style of text, captions, and anything you add to your Instagram postings natively on the platform. Very often we'll have to resort to what Instagram has to offer instead of using our own fonts, and that's going to be especially true with automated captions on Reels and your Instagram stories. It's better to stick to one or two of the fonts you have available through IG and always choose your own colors for them. You can select from the palette, but my favorite tip that I've shared many times before in my Canva tutorials is to create a mini palette image that you can add to your stories through the sticker. And I hope you get me, but I'll add some B-roll here for you to see it just in case. When you have your palette in the editor, you can use the color picker and choose your colors easily. And that's perfect because it lets you stay consistent with your brand image across the board. It's quite useful because I like to use the story editor to create my Reels covers. One, because it's easy, and two, because it feels more native to the platform that way. And this way, of course, I can stick to my branding. Now, I'm curious about your approach. Where do you stand in this perfect feed versus just posting debate? How do you approach your feed? Let me know in the comments. Honestly, I'd love to know your thoughts about it. Since we're on the subject of making things look good, I can't not mention this video here, which is all about the most common design mistakes on social media. Honestly, I see those made all the time, and sometimes it can really ruin your post, so make sure you watch this one next. To make your feed super clear and turn your visitors into followers, you have to have the perfect bio, and I'm confident this video here is going to help you achieve that. I'm explaining what you need to include in yours each step of the way, so it's a really great one for instant results. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content creation tips. Thank you so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.